My guest today is Chester Tam.
Hey,
Chester is a candidate for the Massachusetts 9th Bristol District. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Excellent.
How you doing, Jeff? Thanks for having me.
You are more than welcome. The website is chestermtam.com, so I want everybody to get that up front, so go to that website as our conversation progresses here. Chester, thank you for coming on Back to Normal.
Thanks for having me.
So, introducing yourself to the Commonwealth, why are you running for Massachusetts 9th Bristol District?
So, I mean, there's all types of answers that I have for this. As many who do know me knows that I haven't been involved in Massachusetts very long. I've been involved for about 2 years. And the first RTC meeting that I went to was out in Mattapoisett. It was a Christmas party. It was kind of a long story to get how I got there. A friend of mine had an extra ticket to go to the Christmas party, and she was supposed to go with a friend, and they got sick and couldn't go. So she called me that morning, and I homeschooled my child. So, I didn't pick up. A lot of things going on. And then what ended up happening was I called her back, say, about 11 a.m., and she's like, oh, listen, I have, the extra ticket. I was just wondering if you could go. And I'm like, well, it's kind of late notice. It's later on this evening, got a lot of stuff going on. So as I'm talking to her, she says, oh, hold on. Since I didn't hear back from you this morning, I had called one of my other friends to see if they wanted to go. So I said, you know what? I don't even know if I can go. Why don't you take the call? If they can go with it, that's great. All right. She called me immediately back. She says, oh, they're going to call me back in an hour. I'm like, that's fine. I'll see what I can do. And then she called me back in an hour. She says, now they're saying they can't let me know until 3. I says, you know what? I have one thing that's pressing, but I've always wanted to go to a meeting, so let's just go. Right. So I rescheduled what I had going on that evening, and I was there. And didn't know what to expect. Never been to an RTC meeting, and this being a Christmas party was something different. So
more social.
Social. There was more people
sure.
there just because it was a bigger gathering because it was something special usually. And then, so back in 22 when Sheriff Tom Hodson was running for re-election, my wife actually ran into him and his wife, and she ended up in one of their campaign ads. That's how I met them. And I've never been involved locally or do anything, and ended up holding signs for Sheriff Hodson in Fall River one of these days. And I can remember when I met the sheriff and everybody else that was there. I mean, they look at me and they thought I was young. They're like, "Oh, I thought you went to UMass Dartmouth," and the things like that. And little did they know I'm in my 40s. So.
You look good for in your 40s.
Thank you.
I hope to look.
It's the Asian genes. I can't deny. I'm not gonna argue. So I definitely feel the age, though. I tell you that. So that getting to know the sheriff, and unfortunately he lost his reelection. Didn't see him in 9 or 10 months, but that 23 December Christmas party. I was at the RTC meeting, ran into this woman. She was the Latinos for Trump coalition leader, and met her that night. And she says, "Hey, you should be the Asians coalition leader for the Trump campaign." I'm like, I don't know if I'm the best person for that. I was like, I live in the suburbs. I don't know a lot of Asian people. I don't know how many I can convince to come out and vote for Trump. And being Chinese, in my background. It's kind of odd because, a lot of them escaped communism and they came here, but more of them are Democrats. It's kind of hard for me to.
Okay. All right. So this is good. I mean, look, the audience needs to get to know you, right? They need to help support your campaign if they're Republican, even if they're independent, or maybe they're independent or Democrat and they want to come over to the good side and support somebody who's getting involved from the ground up. And you're right. It's perplexing to me sometimes that people who come from somewhere else where there is communism, socialism, limited options, right? This is the land of opportunity. And yet I guess much like liberals and Democrats moving out of blue states to red states go there and vote for the thing that they left.
Right.
And maybe it's some sort of human disconnect where we don't necessarily acknowledge how good we have it here. But as many of those people are, there are people like yourself who appreciate it. And I think that's good. That, well, can continue. So how are you? Were your parents first generation, or how?
So I'm first generation born here. My grandparents immigrated here in the 60s with my parents. My parents were actually teenagers at the time.
Okay.
When they came here, and they actually met in New Bedford of Massachusetts.
Okay.
When they were teenagers, and got married in their 20s and had me. So I mean, and in a sense, growing up, I never really was into politics because my parents were, they had green cards. They didn't get it, they didn't get their citizenship until like the late 90s.
Okay.
So growing up, we never talked about politics in the house because they were just never able to vote. I mean,
yeah.
So they, we followed the rules and everything like that. But like, it wasn't until I actually had my own family during the Obama years, I'm just like, well, I guess was my wake up period was during the Obama years of how bad things were going.
So tell me about what you were seeing during the Obama years, and I'll say that's when I got heavily involved in politics. A million years ago, started a blog. I saw horrible economic opinions in the pages of the New York Times, and got going, and then went down to D.C. for a convention, and after a couple martinis, made the decision to run for Congress, and then it was like off and running. So, so it was. But what was happening in Obama's terms that made you start to, in the real term, awaken?
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, the first time Obama ran, I was with my wife, and my mother-in-law was actually talking to my wife about voting for Obama. Because she's she's an independent, but she leans a lot more Democrat. And she's always one of those, she's from the Philippines, and she's always like, minorities. And I think because, first black president was one of the things that she was kind of pushing for, and we didn't really pay attention at that point. Let's put it that way. And my wife was like, well, are you going to register and vote? I'm like, well, I don't pay attention. I don't see the point of me registering and vote. Because if I go and vote, I would want to be informed before I do something like that.
That's an intelligent position to take. A lot more than
then I never even voted in my life. So then I was like, well, where do I begin? I didn't even really know. So but my wife ended up getting registered to vote, and she ended up voting for Obama. And throughout those 4 years, we just struggled to get ahead. And I mean, we had kids, we had family, we had a home to pay for, so it was really tough. And then I got laid off from my job, so I mean, it was a difficult time during his first term. And second term came around, my wife was like, it's like, oh, you voting this time around? I'm like, well, unfortunately, I still haven't been paying attention, And I'm like, well, what are you gonna do? She goes, well, I didn't like how, these years, went. I'm not happy with what Obama did. So she didn't even end up voting his second term. She just didn't go vote at all.
Yeah.
So I mean, the second term, obviously, we saw things going where it was even worse. It was. So I was like, well, towards later on in his term, I was just like, well, maybe I started paying attention, started reading more, and and kind of found out that I did have a lot more conservative views than I really thought. Because I mean, for me, never really getting involved or paying attention to politics. And as a kid, I was just like, because of Massachusetts, I'm like, oh, I'm a Democrat or whatever. But I really didn't know what that meant.
I think when issues are explored fully, and this is why platforms like this is why I started this show. When issues are explored fully, and you get to explain the pros and cons, the trade-offs of all the laws and decisions and taxes and spending and everywhere in between, that is made, most people are pretty conservative. Mm-hmm. Most people understand reality. They understand that, like, you can't expect somebody else to pay for all your stuff. You do have to work for it, you know, and you want your tax dollars to go for things that you understand that they're going for, not to pay for other people. And these are basic concepts that now are considered right-wing, but 20, 30 years ago, hell, even maybe 10 years ago, were just normalcy, centrist. And yeah, so when you're seeing that, in Obama's second term, and realizing that, yeah, all the promises and the hope and the change weren't all that were cracked up to be.
Right. So,
Right.
I mean, like I said, so I started paying attention, and I was talking to my wife because she was also paying attention. And, that first Republican debate, when, with Trump and Cruz and Ben Carson, all those guys on the stage, that first debate, I was just sold on Trump. I
Okay.
don't know why I was just drawn to him. A lot of times I was just saying, well, he has all the money, he can't be bought, or that's just kind of like being new, not really understanding it. And obviously not liking what Obama did, I wasn't even really considering voting on the Democrat side.
Okay.
And then looking into Hillary at that point, it was just like, Benghazi and all these other things that she's been involved with. I was just that wasn't even a consideration in my eyes. My wife felt the same way, and we debated on which candidate we liked the most. And she asked me why I like Trump. I was like, I don't know. It just, for some reason, being new to this, I don't know. It's just something that drawn me to him. You know what it is?
He had 100% name ID. 100% name ID. Like, you knew Donald Trump. Donald Trump was in Home Alone 2. He's a lyric in rap songs. He had the Apprentice and the hotels and the buildings and the golf courses. So everybody knew who he was. He was a known commodity, and that's a huge advantage in an election. I get that,
but it almost seemed like when he was running, everyone thought he was just running as a joke in some type of way. But I don't know. I don't know. That was the feeling I was getting, but it had nothing to do with the name recognition. It had everything to do with just I think because of I guess I like to joke around, and I say some things that shock people from there. And Trump was actually that guy there, and he made me laugh, and I just kind of related to that, right?
He's a funny man,
right? And
he's funny. But okay, so I get the appeal of that. He's got a good sense of humor, and he knows how to deliver the line, and I can see why that's attractive.
And
to a lot of people.
To me, a lot of times I'm more reserved now, just because I'm running, and like. Political correctness is now like, oh, be careful what you say to everybody. But,
I don't think you need to be that careful anymore. I mean, like, it depends what you say.
So, I mean, it definitely is different now. I mean, but it was getting to that point where, everyone's like, be careful what you say, or, everyone's going to come back and bring it back and all. So, I mean, I get it. But like, I never thought I was going to run for office. It's not something that I ever considered, because I just, I never even got registered to vote until like 2016. I registered Republican and been a Republican ever since.
That's great.
So I had never even told that, I'm an independent, or I've never been a Democrat.
Yeah.
And I can even say that the only president I've ever voted for was President Trump. So it's, to me, it's like, I don't know. It's not that I wouldn't vote for another one, but I haven't seen anyone better.
Well, I mean, in what, so 25, in 4 years, we're going to have to vote for somebody else. So hopefully we have a good lineup of possible candidates that can do so.
Right.
So let's fast forward a little bit here. Okay.
Well, fast forward or get back to what we were talking about and how I get involved. Right. I mean, so at that Christmas party, having a conversation with the Latinos for Trump coalition leader, she's like, "Oh, I'll talk to the chairperson and we can get you on." And I was just like, "Well, who's the chair?" He's like, "Oh, Tom Hudson." I was just like, I'm like, "Oh, I know Tom." Right. So I was like, and I haven't seen him. And I always say this. He's like, he came into the door, through the door, and I saw him, and he's just like, "Oh, how you doing?" He came, and the first words out of his mouth was, "How would you like to join the Trump campaign?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." But then I'm like, wait a minute. What am I doing, though? What am I signing up for? And, a week later, we had lunch, we discussed, and I got pulled onto the team to become the vice chair of operations.
Okay. Excellent. So you got on the ground floor of understanding what politics really is.
Well, so it was a real crash course for me. So end of 23, December of 23, and then all of 24, I traveled all over the state. I went to a lot of the events with Sheriff Hodgson, campaigning for Trump, meeting a lot of people. And in a sense, I think that's what really got me more involved in meeting so many different people. And it kind of, in a sense, I see what's going on in the state, and I mean, hopefully I can help change it, because I've met a lot of the state reps, the state senators. I talk to them on a regular basis whenever I'm out doing something. So it's like, I mean, Justin Thurber, he's been like the biggest one poking me every single time I see him. He's like, I need some help up there, and I'm like, But like, I think he when he found out I I filed OCPF and was gonna run for state rep. I remember the first time I saw him, he was big old smile like he always does, and he just gave me a big hug. He's like, "Oh, I love it," So I'm very enthused in running. It's gonna take a lot of work.
Yeah.
But
it will be one of the most rewarding experiences of your life. It really will. You're gonna. I mean, I loved it. You get to know a lot of people. You get to get out and meet real people, shake hands, kiss babies, talk about what you're passionate about. And that's great. And I applaud you. Anybody who's willing to put their name on the ballot and get out there and stand up and be like, no, this is what I'm running for this reason. You got to applaud those people because we need people to step up and do that.
I agree with you. And the reason why I feel that way is because I did run for a local election, the Board of Health of my town, because I wanted to join the town meeting, get more involved, get to know more people in my town. So I went to pull papers for the town meeting. It was 3 days before the deadline, got the papers. When I was there, I talked to the town clerk. I was like, hey, I was just curious, was there anything that was kind of like an open seat? Just curious. And they said the Board of Health. And I was just like, just give me the town paper, town meeting papers.
Okay.
Went home, filled it, I filed there, went home, thought about it, and went right back the next day. I said, you know what, if no one's going to do it, I'll give it a shot. I'll just, I'll step up and put my name on there. And, so I pulled papers for Board of Health and just, I got the signatures I needed, handed in by the following Tuesday. So it was like Thursday before the Friday deadline.
Right.
I had the weekend to get the 50 signatures, certified signatures in by, I think it was Tuesday. And I got about 85. I got enough signatures. I was on the ballot. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to, this is real now. I'm on the ballot.
Yeah.
And, I never done anything like that before. I had no idea what I was doing. I just went to the town clerk and I says, okay, let's pull the papers and let's do this. And then about 10 days later, I got a call from my RTC chair and she goes, hey, did you know that there's 2 Democrats running against you for the Board of Health? I'm just like, really? Me thinking I was just going to be like, I don't really
just
have to campaign, cruise in. And I'm just like,
yeah.
okay. So I'm like, well, I'm kind of sunk now because I didn't have anything ready to run a campaign or anything like that. And I pulled papers so late that it was already end of February and into March, and the election was April 1st. Right. So by the time I got all the campaign stuff set, it was already like 3 weeks in. And by the time I got, the things set up to start knocking on doors, I had 3 weeks to knock on doors. And I ended up hitting almost 700 doors in a 3-week span. And I got about 450 votes, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I mean, it was a really low turnout, 9%.
Yeah.
I got 21% of the votes. But, every single person on that ballot was a Democrat running for re-election, was an incumbent. And they dropped one of the Democrats that they put up against me and consolidated all the votes to one person.
Okay.
So, I didn't really have a chance. They had, obviously all their candidates just float the one name and said, like, vote for this person. That the woman, I don't know her. I don't have anything against her. But, it almost, when I had a conversation with her, it almost seemed like she was just, pushed to do it. It almost seemed like she didn't want to do it, right? But they just didn't want me there was why she was running.
Well, that's a reasonable, assumption. Right. I think so. Well, that's great. And that's good. And I'm glad you're running right now because we need good people who are involved in what, I know people were prodding you to run, but why are you running? Like what, because people can ask you, but it's just like, okay, but if you think things are great, it's like, oh no, the things are great. Why would I bother running? I got a life to live.
I'm running not because of me. I'm not doing this for me. So, but back in 21, I actually thought about, like many people have, moving down to Florida. After the COVID year, and then you had the things going on here. My family actually went down to Florida, spent a month there. We rented an Airbnb. Was just like, we went down to Tampa. We have, friends down there, and we're just checking it out. And we did it at the dead heat of July because we're like, we need to know if we can do it, right? In the hottest summer. And we had a great time, but like, was it because it was, new to us? Because we didn't, first time in Tampa, not really, You get to experience everything that is new. So, I mean, anything you do something new, you're going to love it, right?
Right.
It was hot. I mean, but if you go out the right times during the evenings, it's cooler. It's not so bad.
Yeah.
But it's almost like reverse, right? You just stay indoors when it's really hot. Like we're staying indoors when it's winter here.
Yeah.
But then you enjoy all the nice weather when you have down there. But my kids being younger, my son was still in high school, middle school for my middle child, and my youngest, she was, very young. So for her, I don't think it would have mattered. But like leaving family that we have in Massachusetts, my kids having all their friends that they've grown up with, that was the toughest part to decide to do, right? Because I have aunts and uncles that live in my town of Dartmouth. My parents live, a couple towns over from me, and then my mother-in-law and father-in-law live in Dartmouth. So I mean, this is where we're at, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of difficult to make that decision, and ultimately, I wanted to go. The rest of the family didn't want to go, right? Because I was just like, I'm out of here. I don't care if I don't see these people, but I'll come back up here, right? But
you want me to edit that part out later?
No, that's okay. I'm sorry, but I'll come see you tomorrow. But so we ended up sticking around, and then I said, if I'm going to stick around, I'm going to see what I can do to try and help change things.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is why I'm in it, and and you look at it now, the way it was for me when I was a teenager, ready to leave the house. I mean, I left the house around 22, 23 years old. Right after college, moved out to the Newton area, had a job in Boston. So, I mean, that's a real thing. My son right now, this is, I had a conversation with him, and my son's 23, still living at home. And, he says, Dad, it's like, I know that, you probably can't wait to get me out of this house, but I just don't know when I can afford to leave.
Yeah.
Right. So you look at the opportunities that I had, that are, the kids growing up nowadays are they don't have that same opportunity to just, pick up and leave. Most of the times, like 18, they're out the door, right? Now it's like, it's like now we're like raising 40-year-old virgins every day.
You're not that far off. I mean,
right?
this is. I identify with a lot of what you said.
Right. So, I mean, so you're looking at my son's 23. I have a 17-year-old daughter. What's it going to look like when she's out of college? How difficult it's going to be here. And I have a 10-year-old daughter. And what's it going to look like for her when she's wanting to get out of the house?
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of the younger kids, the young Republicans. I've met them, a lot of them through the events that we've done. And they all have the same concerns of like how expensive it is to live here. They can't buy a home, especially getting out of college with that loan debt, and then trying to pick up a mortgage on top of the energy crisis that we have with the skyrocketing bills.
Yeah.
And then insurance. It's endless here, and it's nothing's really helping these people from staying, which is why there's so many people leaving, and we got the wrong people staying. We got the people who's more heavy reliant on our tax money staying here, and we just need more people at the State House to kind of just turn things around. I'm not saying that we're the right answer, but as of right now, what do we have to lose to change things? Because ultimately, we're just too one-sided right now in the State House. We just need some balance, and maybe we can get some pushback, and maybe things work together and actually change things in Massachusetts is what I want to see. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but we have differences.
Well,
of how things.
That's why I'm here. They're wrong, but I think you get it in your gut, right? You understand it because you're living it, and you're 100% right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
not wealthy by any chance. It's we struggle and have the same problems that everybody else does. And I feel like I can be a true representation of the families that. At the State House, and be like, listen, if this is going to be bad for me, it's going to be bad for the people in my district.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it to go this way, and I will fight for that.
That's great. No, that's great. Look, this is why this is America. What you're saying is how it should be. It should be that normal people who are recognizing that it doesn't have to be this way, get involved, step up, and say, you know what, I'm going to get involved and try to make where I live a better place.
Yeah, and
that's
that's the problem that we have right now. We don't have really true representation because it seems like a lot of what's going on with the voting in the legislature is just go along, get along.
Yeah.
And we need change. I mean, there's a lot of people that's stepping up to run, and hopefully the people are fed up in this state that says, you know, listen, let's give somebody else a shot because the way we're going right now is just not in the right direction.
Yeah, I completely agree. No, that's great. And well, first of all, thank you. I mean, it's going to be a chore. This year will be tough, right? But it's like lifting weights or studying for a degree or whatever it is. You know, it's just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not worthwhile, right? You know, you're going to do that and it'll be worthwhile and you'll come out better on the other side of it, win or lose. But I want to point out that Republicans carried the Bristol 9th, right? Oh, I got to wave here. Can you just wave your hand? Thank you. Because they're on motion detectors. My light. See, okay, right now is the time. There, it went back on. Now, I'm going to put a plug. Go to the QR code on the screen and the link. Donate to the Republican Party so I can maybe get a better setup here where I'm not waving my arms to activate the motion detectors for the lights. Thank you very much. That's our commercial and plug. I'll be back with one later. But sorry about that.
No problem.
You know, we're recording live. Where was I? Sorry. But no, look, you're stepping up. It's going to be worthwhile to do it, and people are going to appreciate it. I appreciate it. And so the Bristol 9th Bristol is a Republican district. So let's talk about what you're hearing there and your chances, excuse me, to win this.
So, I mean, we got a great chance to win this district, the 9th Bristol district. You look at the 160 House seats, it's ranked 17th on the list as, you know, favorability for a Republican to win.
That's good. That's real good.
So you look at the 2024 election, Trump actually won the district. So if you look at our town itself, Trump lost by 31 votes. But if you add the New Bedford Ward 1 precincts D, E, and F to the district, Trump won. So, I mean, almost 51%, you know, so, I mean.
So let's real quick here for the audience because excuse me, I got to clear my throat. All right. What towns and cities are in the Bristol 9th?
So that's my town of Dartmouth, and then also that precinct, Ward 1 precinct DEF of New Bedford. So I mean,
so just Dartmouth and New Bedford.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's not too big. That's achievable. That's really great.
Right.
Okay. Excellent.
So I mean, I have a lot of work to do though. Don't make it seem like just because it's one big Dartmouth town that, you know, I'm in the town that it's going to be easy because. I mean, a lot of people do know me outside of my town, but I haven't done a lot in my town. So, I mean, you know, like they're like, well, right now they're probably like, what are you doing out in Arlington tonight when you should be at, you know, in Dartmouth right now asking for voters to vote for you? You know, it's like, you know, so it's that type of stuff.
There's a lot of days. You got a lot of time left to do it. Don't let anybody give you a hard time.
It's going to come right before you know it, you know. So, I mean,
theoretically you can knock on every door between now it's January, right? You know, you've got a lot of time, but I want to put on screen right now. So go because Chester, I like you and I think this is a winnable race for you. Go to chestermtam.com and support Chester in his race. Donate. He's going to need mailers. He's going to need door hangers, yard signs, volunteer for his campaign, sign up, go help him win this district. And so, yeah, winnable. It is winnable.
It definitely is winnable. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know how accurate this is. I've been hearing rumblings. Chris Markey, who's the incumbent in the district for the state rep seat, you know, I'm hearing things of like, you know, Tom Quinn, who's the Bristol County district attorney, may be retiring. And I think Chris Markey may want to run for that seat. So it might be even
an open seat.
It could be.
That's huge.
Right. So, you know, and then who do I run against? I don't know. Hopefully they have a primary and I don't, you know. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors in there that could help me out. But, I mean, not having an incumbent that's going to be 16 years in is probably beneficial.
That's a very good, running against an incumbent is hard, and we're going to, you know, anybody running against an incumbent is going to have a challenge. I mean, it's going to be a challenge if it's an open seat, but run your campaign, people out there, I've been showing it on the screen, your website, they should go donate and help and volunteer.
I appreciate that.
What are you hearing when you talk to voters out there?
I mean, from the standpoint of myself, when I was knocking on doors for the Board of Health, there's a lot of people that are looking for change. It's tough because in the presidential election, they all get out there and vote. But like it's all the other, midterms and local town elections, the conservatives in the town, they don't show up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for the standpoint of myself, I know that I got a lot of support. But at the same time, I'm still very unknown in my town. So, I mean, I have a lot of work, and I have no issues talking to anyone and everyone, even if you're a Democrat. I don't, my mother and father-in-law are Democrats. They have a picture with Hillary Clinton right in their living room. So.
I'll play a clip. I got one of Hillary later. But when of the voters you do talk to, you've been out there for a little while now, and yeah, we got a long way to go. But from the people in Dartmouth, and what are they concerned about? What at the state level, or is there overlap of what the issues that they're thinking?
Well, I mean, there's things that you hear from the town perspective. We have the 40B housing, housing developments. We have 3 different ones being built in our town.
Okay.
And and you look at it and you say, well, do we have the infrastructure to have these put in? Because I mean, we're already I think every single town has to be about 10% or something like that for the subsidized housing. We're about 8.5%. We have a lot of surrounding towns that are not even close to what percentage we are. Why are they forcing our town to take on all of this new housing development when we don't have infrastructure in place to support it?
Yeah.
And you look at it, we have 2 wells down in our town, and we're buying water from Fall River, from New Bedford.
So the wells in Dartmouth aren't operational.
There's 2 of them that are down, and they're actually they're in repairs. And right now we're buying water from Fall River in New Bedford. So it's like we don't have the infrastructure to build these, but yet they're doing it. And then take into account the traffics of some of these locations.
This is something people have to consider when you build anything, right? So more people moving into the area. Can the schools support it, right? And you're talking about very, very, very basic things like water, and the town's already stressed. How are you going to support that?
Right, and so it's like if as a state rep, why won't you try and say like, listen, maybe our town is not, but like we have like a Acushnet or Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, all these surrounding towns that aren't even close to being up to par with the 10%. Why are we building more in Dartmouth when we can't support it yet? Not to say that we don't do it. It just says we need to make sure we have everything else in place before we force this onto the people. Because I mean,
do it smartly,
right? Because I mean, everybody's the way people live daily is a big concern. I mean, what we're taking on, and not being able to recoup all the tax money to pay for all these things. Because I tell you one thing, with the budget that we have, I mean, we don't have enough funding for the school systems. And I look at it and says, well, I mean, we would love to see more money get allocated to the school, but it's actually getting pulled from the school budget to do other things. So it's like how do we got to budget that, and what's going to happen? A lot of our property taxes are going to increase. They're going to increase our taxes, and it's just going to make living in Dartmouth tougher for the people.
No, there should be. This is why an active representative on Beacon Hill for your district is critical, because you need to be able to either get waivers for the 10% subsidized housing rule to make sure that there's more money for the water infrastructure if you're going to build it properly, more money for the schools if more families are coming in, like appropriate representation, and where the citizens of your district aren't getting the shaft. And this is the basic stuff that affects people's lives. So it's good that you're talking about it, concerned about it, know about it, and can affect that change up on the hill and not just go along to get along.
And the reason why I know about these things is because I've been, a town meeting member, and I've been attending the meetings, and also, there's groups on Facebook that talk about these things that people are worried about and concerned about, and I read them. I mean, I pay attention to what's going on. It's the only way we can figure out whether or not, we can make things better in our town. I live there. I love the town, and I want to make it better.
Yeah. That's so many people. Like, look, people have asked me, or why don't you leave? Like you said, Florida, it's sunny every day, warm. We're recording, it's January. If somebody watches this in 3 months, it stinks outside. It was 19 degrees when I was walking the dog this morning. There's a lot of things going. There's more and more things, unfortunately, going against Massachusetts and a lot of them are within our control. But I don't want to leave here. I like it here. I want to fight to make it a better place. And I think people need to get out and support your campaign, because it's guys like you, people like you, that are willing to step up and just get involved and say, you know what, let's come to the table, like you were just talking about. Figure out what the best path forward is, not just plow ahead with the wrong ideas.
And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I'm willing to sit down and talk about it. And let's get the answer. Right?
I think that's what a representative democracy is all about. That's fantastic. I didn't, sometimes I have like thoughts about what issues we're going to talk about, what the issues of the day are, but I think I wanted to take this time so the audience could really get to know you, and so that that you can have enough time to talk about what you are concerned about, why you're running, to tell people about yourself, and to get to know you as a person, because at the end of the day, you're like everybody else, a human being trying to do this. But I'm going to shift gears a little bit and maybe have some clips here that it's good that you supported President Trump and we got to the point where he is in his second term, because I think he's doing a lot of good. And I'm going to flip over to something here. This is going to be a clip from earlier this week. This is our governor. And this is why we need balance up on Beacon Hill, because there are real problems with what she's talking about in this clip. If I can play.
ICE is not making our community safer. ICE is not making our state safer. And to speak specifically about Massachusetts as we speak, and I've talked to people who've witnessed this firsthand, as we speak, folks, in Massachusetts, because people are so afraid of ICE. They are not going to court. They are not going to school. They're not going to doctor's appointments. That's not making us safe. When I think about the people, what's happening in our courts right now, victims of violence afraid to come forward because of their concern that they're going to be picked up by ICE. Imagine that.
So I had to ask Grok. Maura Healey says ICE is making us less safe. And this ties into the race and why we need representation on Beacon Hill, and I'll get to that in a second. But I asked Grok, how many arrests has ICE made in Massachusetts, and what crimes were they wanted for? So in September of 2025, just a few months ago, during Operation Patriot 2.0, ICE and federal partners arrested 1,406 individuals in Massachusetts. More than 600 of these had significant criminal convictions pending charges in the U.S. or were known fugitives. This include individuals who were wanted for convicted of serious offenses such as murder, rape, child sex predation, drug trafficking for fentanyl, cocaine, and distribution, assault and battery, and a litany of other crimes. I say this because we spent the first half of this episode talking about you and why you're running and the normalcy, and I guess just from the real people who are out there in the community who are affected by all these decisions, and that's why you're running. And we have representation up on Beacon Hill, both in the governor's office and the legislature, that are actively antagonizing people who are legitimately making our community safer, our country safer. And this is a problem. We need to calmly and assertively tell the voters out there that no, working with law enforcement to get 1,400 criminals off the street just in September is a good thing. And there's laws on that the governor is not pushing for and reform that could say to local law enforcement, work with federal authorities, work with them. And if you arrest somebody, if they're, traffic violation and you run in, you find out they're wanted for something else. Right now, there's laws on the books that say that they really can't work with federal authorities for deportation hearings and working with ICE. We need representation on Beacon Hill, like yourself, that is willing to vote affirmatively and change those laws so that we can make our communities safer.
And I'm a son of an immigrant, right? Yeah. So I'm not against immigration. I have my wife is from the Philippines. She has family that's in the Philippines that's been petitioned to come here and filled out all the paperwork, and yet they still can't come because they keep getting pushed back to the end of the line because we have all the illegals in our country that's taking their place. So it's, but like the reason why I would like to see these criminals and violent illegals taken off the street is because, me back in the day when I was growing up, my grandparents used to watch us because, my parents would be working all day long, and so like my aunts and uncles, we all got dropped up at the grandparents, and they were watching us. But how they watched us? Like they didn't watch us. They just let us roam the streets of New Bedford and play in the schoolyards and be, as long as we came back, at a semi-time before it really got dark, they were fine, right? These days now though, with the way things are, it's like I would never allow my kids to go roam the streets at even 10 years old, my youngest daughter, and not be worried whether or not she's going to make it home, Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about different times, and it shouldn't be that way. We should be able to be like we were before, where, we can, I just want to go outside and play. And like, it's like, all right, I'll go get my stuff and let's go outside. But like before it was just like, just go outside. Right.
Yeah.
It's
no,
not
I think we're the last of that generation that did that. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So to me, it's like, and what Maura Healey is trying to say here is like, it's like, why are you restricting ICE from doing their jobs? To the point, if you're not working with them, this is what's making it less safe for people, because these people could be off the streets, and you could be detaining these people, and these confrontations that other people that want to block ICE won't even happen.
Yeah.
In a sense, you're making it more violent and more dangerous.
That is an excellent point.
Right?
The person who's making it less safe is the one who is advocating for not working with them.
Right.
And ICE has said this. The Boston ICE director has said this on the record. He's like, the reason they have to go into the communities is because local law enforcement won't work with them when they apprehend these people for other offenses.
Right. And
so they're forced to.
And in a sense, it makes the other people worry more too, because if like, okay, they may be here illegally, maybe not criminals, but they're just, they're collateral because they were there when it happens.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And more of those are, and that's exactly what they're saying is happening. That's an excellent point. I think more common sense attitudes like that you're talking about. This is why I'm glad you came on, and I'm gonna flash Chester's website on chestermtam.com. Go volunteer. Help Chester get elected in the 9th Bristol.
Make sure you put the M in there, because it's funny.
It is. There's an M on the screen. So chestermtam.com.
I always laugh at that, because when you Google my name, just Chester Tam, there's actually 2 other Chester Tams in this world. Both Asian. One's in the Philippines, which I don't know who he is. But there's another one on the West Coast in California who is actually an actor.
Really?
And he was in Scream 3. So how many times I've heard like, oh, are you in Scream 3? I'm like, no, that's not me.
Chester Tam, not the actor,
no,
is who you want to vote for.
I like to say, like, even though he's the actor, I'm the better looking Chester Tam out there.
I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree. Excellent. Fantastic. Well, look, Chester, I want to really thank you for coming on the show today. I want to put my full support behind you getting elected. I hope everybody watching goes to your website, donates to your campaign, signs up to volunteer, heads down to the 9th Bristol as we get closer to the election to help you get elected. This is a winnable race. This is a winnable race. And this is the thing, we at the Mass GOP, I'm going to put a plug in for this. There are a lot of winnable races here. Go to the link on the screen, the QR code. Help us get people like Chester elected. We need money. You've been reading about it in the papers. We're tired of reading about it in the papers too. It would help if you can contribute whatever you can. It will help get guys like Chester, people with common sense, on Beacon Hill so that they can win and start to roll back the insanity that we're seeing day to day.
And if anyone's in Dartmouth that's watching this, if I'm knocking on your door, I am not a solar salesman or anything like, because you know how many times they tell me to just leave, and then I'm like, but I'm not a salesperson.
And then their utility bills that they pay for natural gas and all the other electricity are subsidizing them going out and sell it, so they're paying twice with the skyrocketing utility bills. But now, Chester, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been Back to Normal. I will hope you tune in again. Share this with your friends. Hit the share button so as many people as possible get to know Chester, and we can help get him elected this coming November. So with that, I'll be signing off. And Chester, thank you once again.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me again.
Take care.